Hello, everyone, and welcome back to episode 2 here of Manor Lords, where our wild animals have migrated a little bit here. We are running out of fuel, which is something we knew about, which is why at the end of the last episode we did build our Woodcutter's Lodge. We are in May here of year 1, hoping to be able to get another family member or family to move into this burgage plot, and then we'll build more houses here. And then we will try to build a Stonecutter's Lodge. I believe that's what it's called. Um, Industry. Stonemason. Nope. That's not what it is. That's what they cut it into. Previously, just the raw stone is just a... Okay. Maybe that is what it's called. No, gathering. There it is. Just a quarry. Or we would need planks. Okay, so I guess that does change what we would do next. We would actually build a saw pit. Kind of zoom in here on our worker as she moves around the firewood. Although it looks like so they don't actually use the timber that's been cut down by the logging camp. Well, that's good. As you can see, Jorg is the firewood cutter. We are waiting. And then, of course, our warehouse worker here, Koots, is coming in to get the supplies. And we are going to be transporting some berries to the granary, I would imagine. And move the logging camp's work area back a little bit more. And I mean, of course, one of the issues we're going to have is sorry about that. We are playing catch up with the fuel supply. Because we didn't have any fuel there for a while, we are now trying to, play catch up with it. But I do think eventually we'll get there. Right? It might take a little bit of time. But the hope is obviously that we'll get there. So we will have to build our saw pit. try to get the planks going. And then once we get that, then we'll be able to build the quarry for the stone, and then after that, we'll be able to build the manor. So we know the next steps, right? All while trying to, continue to make sure we have enough food and firewood and all of that for our people. And then the planks will also allow us to build up some of the backyard extensions of the burgage houses that we have. So in that regard, we also should have some pretty good plans, I guess, in terms of, hey, what are our next steps, planks, backyard extensions, quarries, and the manor itself. So we are up to 1 month worth of supply now in the firewood, which is better than what we used to be. 6 months of food, 1 month of fuel. And we did get a person to move into our burgage plot once we turned into June with the calendar. So we do have our one extra family now. So actually, the first thing I lied earlier. The first thing we have to do is build a new burgage plot. Now we could, again, if we had so that is just one burgage plot construction of 2. Because what that is going to do is going to allow us then to go in and get the saw pit right now. And then hopefully come July, right, we'll have another family move in. And then at that point, we'll be able to build, another burgage plot, stone quarry, berries are still growing, but they are down at 27 out of 50. Although I guess technically we could just build the 2. I don't know. We have 13 timber. I'm trying to remember from the earlier times that I played the game. Would 2 families move in at once? I don't remember, to be honest, if two families move in at the same time. Or if you're kind of limited to just the one family. So, yeah, I'm trying to remember. I honestly can't remember if more than one family would move in. Because if obviously if we built the two houses, that would speed up the overall development of the village, right? If we had two people move in at the same time, but I'm just not certain anymore, if that's what's going to happen or if the game would just say no, just one person or one family moves in a month, then it really doesn't make sense for us to build multiple burgage plots and just have them sitting there. We have finally got enough fuel to where the game says we are no longer at risk of running out, which is a big thing. Like that is not nothing, right? I'm not sure how much that it's going to matter in terms of the approval of the village, but I would imagine there's an impact. And also, just from the standpoint of, having resource availability and surplus, it's never a bad thing. Yes, the peasant's life was not easy during the Middle Ages, as you could get hear that gentleman there complaining about bring this there, move that there, and on and on. That is certainly true. Their life was not an easy one. I would still like to go back in time and live through a life or two in the Middle Ages. Obviously, everybody's like, oh, well, you'd want to be a king or a duke or a lord. Yeah, or even just a, you know, lord of a little manor. Yes, of course. That, would be interesting. But even like as a blacksmith, obviously, I would have to be able to, learn the skills and whatever of that. But I think it would be interesting just going through daily life of the time period, right? Going through daily life, you know, and this life is interesting itself, don't get me wrong. But as a historian or a history teacher, rather, maybe it's the romantic in me or the nostalgia in me or whatever you want to say. I feel like it would be interesting to go through, earlier and other time periods and histories to see what was daily life. What were people like? Is it like we think in the books, right? Is that truly an accurate depiction, or do we get it wrong as we have many other times in history? I guess it's possible at the same time that we could just have the people who are working at the Woodcutters Lodge also work at the saw pit. Give me a hammer and somebody that will not move. I mean, he keeps saying the same thing over and over again. I feel like that marketplace is still going to be within range of this new house, along with the well, hopefully. So we do have another burgage plot. Nobody is living in that one. We do have 18 timber. We are going to again manually move the work area. You don't have to do that. Something I choose to do. Wow. Okay, so a new family start moving in right away. Okay. So we will go ahead and build our saw pit. 2 timber and 1 tool. How many tools do we have left? I have 8. Okay. So we are going to build the saw pit there for the planks. Which needed 2 timber and 1 tool. I'm not sure where this second person came from. But I'll definitely take them, right? Because it does help my plans moving forward. You know, for our little settlement. How big is a stone gathering camp? Not super big. Workers gather a rubble stone from the surface of a nearby stone deposit. Well, and then we don't need... I think it's just stone itself, right? So... I was just going to say, it doesn't need to be like refined stone, does it? We need one more piece of timber. And then our little wood industry down here will be kind of set. I think, right? We'll have our saw pit, our woodcutter's lodge, our logging camp. We could obviously build, what do they call it? Where they plant the saplings, the forester's hut. Could build that as well. Having more than one oxen once we can eventually do the training, or not the trading, but the trading and the acquiring of more livestock would obviously help with the construction and moving of the heavy, you know, large pieces of timber. Yeah, I was just talking about making your job easier there, big fella, so no need for all the noise. I mean, all the goods are there, so I'm not entirely sure what's taking so long in terms of the overall construction. What I will say is I'm going to build another burgage plot as well. I know we have 2 extra families, so technically I could go straight into building the stone pit, right? But advanced production, gain greater control over your production by selecting the advanced type of production. Okay, yeah, we already. Because this way, again, it guarantees me that extra living space for another family. I'll take 2 tools a year. So that is something that we're definitely going to want to keep an eye on is the amount of tools we need and, you know, the potential trade that's going to have to go into getting enough tools. I do love the graphics, right, and the sounds. I just saw that firewood. That's like, hey. Ooh, love the look of him splitting the firewood, though. That was pretty cool. It's all right, Nickel. You'll be okay, buddy. The berries do say they're still growing. Now, there used to be a technology. Page. Origins, we carry the weight of our past, but is the promise of these lands that will define us. Settlement level required, small village. Bamberg, smallholders. Driven from Bamberg by the bishop's heavy tithe, we learn to keep our hearts warm and our tables full by our own heads. We waste nothing to every plot with care and set down roots where we can live by our own labor, not by the bishop's mercy. Okay, so it's kind of unlocked by how we do the environment, right? So we have 19% of meadow, jelly rolling grasslands, dotted. I love the screens. Dotted with wildfires, vital for grazing, haymaking, and healthy bee populations. 79% woodland, dense and shadowed the forest teams with edible life and resources. 2% rural records, okay. So I do know that I remember them saying, the technology and all of that had to rework. And how the technology trees work compared to how they were the first time originally. So that I am aware of. And hey, if people enjoy the settlement right away, we could definitely go down here and build a stone camp, or okay, what do they call it? Stone pit? Stone gatherer camp right away. Move the target area of the logging camp again. Okay, guiding an ox. So apparently they actually do cut down logs themselves, just like the logging camp. Whereas firewood does not seem to need an ox in order to collect the wood they need for the fuel. So the axes really need the sharpening. That makes sense. Well, we are getting closer and closer to building this last burgage plot. Getting fuel supplies, guiding an ox, and waiting. So we have another burgage plot which has been finished. So obviously until we get the planks, we can't build the stone gathering pit or anything else in terms of the backyard field extensions. Which I thought would be a little bit easier to produce just based on the rest of the buildings and the production chains. But I do appreciate that it's taking a little bit longer. So I do think. Sorry, I will say that I do think we'll probably be wrapping up the episode here pretty soon. Yep. So we actually need timber itself. So it almost looks like there's like you put the timber on top of the different logs there, and then that's how you would eventually get the planks. We have Linhart Carpenter's going into craft now. That is cool. You can see him sawing away. I mean that is just awesome. I think that is super duper cool. You can see the sawdust coming out. Peter, firewood cutter, Jorg is coming. Linhart put down a bunch of planks, although he is now standing on top of them. So he has 5 planks. A stone gathering camp needs 4. That burgage plot would need 2. I think we'll build this stone gathering camp or pit. One timber, 4 planks, and 1 tool. And the reason we're building that is yes, okay, we are going to be out of extra families then. I understand that. However, at the same time, it does put us in a position with our planks and our stone where we will be able to build the manor house. It is obviously going to take our workers a little bit of time to be able to deliver the supplies to us. Especially since we just have the one free family doing the construction as opposed to, 5 or 6 free families, right? Although you can see the workers are starting to come down the road a little bit. Nothing's been transported as of yet. Okay, flattening the ground. And Lynn's just flattening the ground. Peter's just going to be flattening the ground. I mean, I appreciate the work. I don't know that I need everybody just to flatten the ground, though. So you can see with flattening the new ground, or not the new ground, but we're flattening the ground for the new construction project. My goal is to be able to get that built, and then that'll be the end of the episode. My nothing's been done, or at least no supplies have been dropped off, right? They flattened the ground a little bit. Hey, we have a new family moving in. As it is July. Transporting planks. Transporting timber. Where are you transporting this timber to? I'm guessing they're going to go across the ground. No? So they walk this way and are now going that way. Why not just go straight down? But okay. Okay. It's fine. It's not a big deal. It's just a little confusing as to why they would have just go straight down the road. But well, if we're going to have an extra family, was that clay? Yep. Maybe what we do is get a honey camp, get another source of food, get some leather going, right? So we have 2 out of 4 plagues, 0 out of 1 timber, and we don't have our tool yet. Although we do have 11 plagues overall. So because of that, we can go here, and we're going to go to a vegetable garden. We will also build a vegetable garden in that Burgage house as well. Now, I don't know if that food is going to get, those vegetables are going to get taken to the market eventually, or if that's just going to stay with the family. We finally dropped off the timber. You can see we have 3 out of 4 planks, 0 out of 1 tools. Have been delivered so far here to start the stone gathering camp. How much stone do we have? We have 10 rubble stone. How much do we need? 20 planks, 15 stone. I mean, yeah, so you can see the banner itself is not that impressive at this point in time. Twenty planks, so it's gonna take a good bit. It is gonna take a good bit before we are able to have enough planks. Wait, what? We do. We're missing a house. I thought it was weird how we kept having people move in. Though I think it's also weird now that they decide that they no longer can live in that house, right? That also strikes me as a little bit of weird, or a little weird, whatever, however you want to say it. So we are missing just the wood timber in terms of the last building supply we need for our stone gathering pit, which is going to be critical, right? Because that is what is eventually going to allow us to build our manor and other buildings as well. But that being the starting point, and which is going to be the highlight of episode 3, right? Being able to do that, have the ability to tax our people, getting the influence, which may or may not allow us to expand on the map, right? I know if we go out here to the map, we do have the 3 competitors. You can see they have, oh, that's a church. Okay. So they have built a church already. They also built a church. They also have a trade. They have a trading post. Um, Stone gathering camp. So I do think we followed behind a little bit. Wooded church. Let's see, they have very large garden areas. So all these places look like they have bigger burgage plots than what I have. Which I don't know if that's like necessarily good or bad, but well, I mean it's bad in the sense that we're not going to get nearly as much from our vegetables as a larger burgage plot is going to have, right? So we have to purchase. Okay, provides a minimum yield of carrots. It takes roughly 14 weeks to grow. High yield of cabbages. It takes 18 weeks to grow. Beetroots, slowly to yield the beetroots. It takes roughly 10 weeks. 14 silver. So we're down to 36 now. And we'll do 11 here for carrots, which will take 14 weeks. So we have cabbage and carrots growing in the two burgage plots where we have extra space. So we'll see exactly what that does in terms of our fruit supply. We do have 12 plagues. So we're slowly starting to get the plagues up and running. We did drag the timber and the oxen through this burgage plot, which is kind of funny. We have 2 stone now. How much do we need? Allows taxation, 20 plagues, 15 stone. So we have 12 stone, 12 plagues. So not quite there on either, but we are getting closer and closer to where we would need to be in order to build our manor. Which again is going to be the focal point of episode 3. Thank you everybody for your time today. We are building another burgage plot to try to make sure we have a free family in order to build. It will also help us in terms of potentially putting servants into the manor house itself. What does a church cost? $20 plagues and 10 stone as well. Aside families become grave diggers. Okay. I do feel like building the manor is more important early on. It gives us the retinue, gives us the influence, lets us taxation, or gives us access to taxation. Alright, with the influence, I'll take 1,000 influence. So we're not going to have that much influence, right? But we will have some. You can see it's really not taking too long to gather up this stone, which is nice. But thank you everybody again for watching. Stay safe, take care, and I will talk to you all later.